I've been
Oh,
recording.
All right. We're live. Now, that doesn't mean don't panic. Don't panic. That doesn't mean we've started the episode. No. We've just hit the pre-launch. And yeah, I'm going to turn myself
except
down.
every
once
time
again.
people, when people come back and they want to watch it again on Facebook, then they always see us doing this thing before it starts. And it's like we're just messing about and we're just like,
Stoo-ba-doo-doo-ba-doo. Hey, look,
in fact, that's the first thing they see. That's when they
I had-
decide if they're going to watch the
Okay.
episode.
Tone
I
down
had
the
really,
peppiness.
I had a really weird dream last night.
Don't start the podcast till the podcast starts. Luke, can you turn down just a little bit more? We got 6 people watching. Every minute this is getting more embarrassing. And I want to hit the
I have to turn down my volume.
It sounds a bit loud to me. Gabe, can you
Okay.
comment if you're watching and let us know if Luke sounds too loud?
Where's Gabe? Why is he not there?
Cuz we're social distancing. All right, just so that the people don't yell at us. All right, we ready?
Okay,
9
then.
people? We got a thumbs
Testing,
up. I'm not sure
1,
what that
2.
means. All right.
It means ready, Ben. It means they're ready.
Okay, here we go. Let us begin.
You are listening to the Lockdown live stream, a special edition Provoke&Inspire episode.
Why am I the only one dancing?
We thought we'd let you do it this time.
Welcome to the Provoke and Inspire podcast. My name is Ben Pierce. I am the host of this apocalyptic, wacky show. Here we are in different locations. You know what, guys? In a weird way, we've been preparing for this for like 2 years. We're used to talking from a distance, aren't we, fellas?
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true.
That's
it
how our
reminds
lives
me.
are.
What's that really
Can you guys
stupid?
pick one at a time for the love.
What is that really stupid song from the 80s? God is watching us from a distance. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
No idea.
Okay, never mind.
Is that all? That's it?
Well,
just
no, but part of it is I had this really weird dream last night. So like I was dreaming that I was in I think I was in Sydney, and I was walking around and all the shops were closed and the streets were empty, and I was trying to figure out how to get a bus from Sydney to Frankfurt. And
Go on.
and so then I'm like walking around and it's just all weird and no one's there. And then there was one shop open. And so I thought, great, maybe they can help me.
Wait,
'cause I
hold on.
David's random story.
All right, continue.
So anyway, I think there's like one shop open. So I thought, oh, I'll go in there and see, maybe they could help me. And it was Lyle, and he was there.
Who's
and,
Lyle?
Lyle.
And
Who's Lyle?
And he had a clothing boutique. So I could buy like, I could buy a belt or something like that, but it didn't really help me get out of
Hey,
Sydney.
David, maybe you could hold the microphone above your left eye.
So
Hey, wait, hold up. We have 21 people watching. Guys, can we do something together? Can we hold hands digitally? Stop what you're doing. Invite one person, just one person, to join this live stream. Let's see if we can get this number to 40. If we can get this number to 40, Luke will derobe and run around in his living room.
Yes, because I have no robe anyway.
26. Look at that. All right, carry on, David. The hope is that we're going to hit 40 by the time that David's story concludes, which will be anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes.
He's like the
from
warm-up
now.
band.
Boom, 27. Go, boys, go.
So I had this dream and I'm walking through Sydney, and then I end
Why
up.
are you talking so lethargically? It's not early there. Pepping it up. Pep it.
And then I go to the clothing boutique, and there's Lyle, and he's like, "Man, what's happening? Don't you know that you should be in Amsterdam?" And then I was in Amsterdam, and a cat peed on my jacket when I was in Amsterdam. But they
Suddenly,
wouldn't
like
wash
that,
it.
you were teleported.
What? What else?
Wow.
What do you mean? What else?
Wow.
That's it?
What do you
The
mean?
numbers
If you can
went
imagine-
down. We were supposed to go
Yeah.
up in numbers, and we went down.
If you imagine Random Story normal, this is Random Story Dream version. It's worse. It's just really random.
In the dream version of the random story, there doesn't have to be any truth whatsoever. Anyway, let me
Yeah.
pull it in before David says something. This is the Provoke and Inspire podcast. The Provoke and Inspire podcast. When we make
It's
tea
Scottish
in good
version.
times. Scottish. Anyway. All right. So this is the lockdown live stream. This is number 8. Boys, we're still alive. Here we are. The world ever increasingly on lockdown. In fact, my home state of Minnesota, as of 2 p.m. Central Time, issued a 2-week lockdown. But it starts on Friday. So here I am, still in my office. And sheltering shall take place in a couple of days. But anyway, it's the reality of our crazy world. I don't think I have to tell anyone that. And we felt that in response to that, we wanted to have these daily conversations Monday through Friday as a way to be together, to be a community for one another. Yeah, we laugh a little bit, have a joke, have a laugh. But it's also, I think, been very encouraging and very serious conversation. I don't know if you were able to check out the A.R. Bernard podcast that we did yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It's now out in audio format. You really, really want to check that out. Amazing man of God in New York City, pastors, one of the most influential, largest churches there. And he was incredible to hear. And he talked about theodicy. Where is God in all of this? He gave us some positives. So go back and check that out. We've been doing these every day, but you can go back. You can listen to the ones that you've missed. But what I want to do is I have been feeling just way down by the negativity, the bad news. And yes, it is a serious thing. There are lots of it's difficult for the entire planet, and there's varying degrees of difficulty out there, and we need to be sympathetic. But good news can lift the spirits. And there is some good news, and sometimes I feel like the good news should be shared more. Like, for example, one of the things that I read recently is that we're having this amazing collaboration between Ford and 3M and these different companies that are essentially kind of abandoning their own vision for what they're trying to do and the profit that they're trying to make. And they're combining their mind power and their workforce labor to produce ventilators and other equipment that we need in a time like this, which is super, super cool. They say they plan to have 75,000 ventilators made this week, with another 100,000 by mid-April. And that's just these big companies in the US coming together, kind of saying, okay, we have to kind of put our own agendas on the shelf. I'm going to give you a couple of other things to be positive about, to be happy about. You ready, fellas? You ready for some positivity?
I'm ready. I need some positivity.
Ready.
Okay, here we go.
Question 1.
It's not really question 1. There's 9 things. I don't have up to 9 things, but
good news 1.
Good news 1, right. And these are brought to you by Stephen Bradley. He did the research on this. So is it fact or
Thanks,
fiction?
Steve.
We'll find out. Yeah. The first thing to be happy about is there's very little to no traffic right now.
Yeah.
Really, that is so bad.
You really scraped the bottom right there. If you're starting with that,
I told you to blame.
I'm worried.
I told you to blame Steve. Okay, number 2. This one's kind of cool. Alcohol distilleries around the world are repurposing themselves to make hand sanitizer.
That one's cool. I did hear that about that one.
Oh,
That
Luke, you are such a fake.
Moving on.
Wait a minute. When Luke heard that one, he's going, "What?"
All right.
Because he was
Why?
about it.
I heard it this morning. I heard it this
Hey,
morning on the news already.
No, you
Some
didn't.
of these are.
I did.
Since some of these are serious and a little, some of them are supposed to just bring some levity at a time like this. Okay, number 3, many restaurants, including Taco Bell and Chipotle, are doing free delivery. But then he has in brackets with a minimum. So it doesn't seem that benevolent. It just kind of seems like a promotion. Next, number 4, gas and petrol prices are dropping.
Why? Now, why is that? Explain that one to me.
Because no one drives their car because everyone's dead.
Okay,
Sure, but you don't need to drop the price.
I didn't mean. I didn't.
No,
Sorry.
No,
that
too
was
far. Too far.
That was too far. Sorry.
No, that seriously. Anyway, number 5, athletes and many different sports teams are banding together and are helping cover the wages of those that maintain the arenas, which is really cool. I mean, you're seeing, and again, we've talked about this before. In all seriousness, the general empathy and benevolence that are coming out of people. There was a star athlete here, and he makes millions of dollars. His name's Zion Williamson. but he's a 19-year-old kid, and very early on, like 3 weeks ago, he donated $100,000 to help cover the wages of this particular like smoothie store within the arena where he plays basketball. He said, "I'll cover all of your wages, and I'll donate that personally." And it's kind of cool to see that coming out. So that's number 5.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, companies like Apple are donating millions of face masks to healthcare workers. Number 7, the tax day in the US has been pushed back. So for all of those procrastinators out there, we've got a little bit more time for that. Number 8, Marvel Studios has postponed production of whatever dumb movie they're going to release next.
Oh, that's harsh. All the
it's
Marvel
hard.
fans will be angry with us now.
I know. All of our listeners just dropped. And finally, number 9, many different news agencies have reported dramatic decreases in air pollution and CO2 levels as a result of all of the reduction of people on the roads, which is kind of a strange thing, don't you think? I mean, how quickly the earth rebounds when we all just kind of are forced to sit inside for a little bit. It is a bit weird.
I heard like dolphins are like in Venice now.
No, I think that might have been a myth, according to, well, who knows? But one thing is definitely true, that the effects of less humanity sort of infringing itself upon the planet has actually yielded some pretty incredible results in terms of air pollution.
Well, I have one of the things I've noticed when I look out the windows, it does appear to me, at least, anecdotally, how do you say that?
Just go with it.
When I look out the windows, it appears to me like the birds seem more upbeat,
happy.
Yeah.
They're more happy.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move along. We have committed to doing this Monday through Friday, every single day. David is so annoying. Seriously, look at him, and he's just grinning like a goon. Why is he? David at the Rock Priest? What is this?
So
Luke,
yesterday, did you guys notice how Bernard kept talking to the three of us like we were all much younger than him? So it kept treating David like he was much younger than him.
Yeah. David,
what is that? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say by that,
right.
Luke?
I'm just saying.
Mute. He's done.
Really?
All right. No. So here's the thing. I wanna be serious for a second. We're going to be doing these podcasts every single day. The goal is always 2 p.m. Central Time, U.S. Central Time. It's not always possible. So as you can tell today, we're at 3 p.m. U.S. Central. We'll keep you posted. Like us on Facebook. Come and live. That's where we do all of the streaming. Join our Provoke and Inspire podcast community page. That's also where you get up-to-date information about when we'll be streaming. But as I said on my live video earlier, we love doing this. It is a lot of work, but we really feel like it's been beneficial. It's been amazing to come together and provide this community for one another. We've heard from a lot of you that this has been encouraging. All we really ask in return is that you would share this, that you'd find someone in your life who you think would be encouraged by this, and you'd let them know. Say, hey, check out the live stream, these crazy dudes at 2 p.m. U.S. Central. Otherwise, if you do miss any episodes, you can go back, like I said, go on iTunes, type in Provoke and Inspire. All of the episodes end up there about 24 hours after we do the live stream, thanks to the hard work of Kippy. So definitely consider checking that out. Go back, leave us a rating, write a review for us. That really would help. I have a lot of different things I want to talk about today. But one thing I want to bring up first is one of the kind of persistent social media fights that I've seen, the things that, it's weird how, social media is always a cesspool, but it's no less of a cesspool at a time like this, that's for sure. And the fight I've been seeing a lot is between the don't tell me what to do with my life, I'm going to, bleep it, I'm going to do whatever I want, versus the what are you doing? Stay inside, be responsible, that kind of argument. And of course, I get the frustration of people being stuck. I get the frustration of people all of a sudden being very limited in their activities. And of course, I get the other side of it in the sense of we need to care about people, not just ourselves. And as a humanity, we need to recognize that my actions impact other people. And so, Luke, I thought this was an interesting thought. This is, in some ways, is almost exposing how individualistic our Western culture has become. Would you say that there's even some potentially beneficial things about us recognizing, we're kind of having this virus be the paradigm through which we view it, but our actions affect other people. And maybe even beyond this virus, that's a lesson that we all could benefit from learning from, don't you think?
Yeah. I do. I agree. I mean, partly because it's not just the way you think about it, it's just a fact. So even if you want to live or try to believe that I can do whatever I want and it doesn't matter, it doesn't affect, the fact is that does. And it's not just in virus time. Everything I say and do influences people around me. It has an effect, it has an impact on people. And I think that's actually a really core part of following Jesus, a really core part of the Christian message. When we say to love one another, that's what it means. It means to care about other people and to live in a way where I'm actually being a blessing to people and I'm lifting them up instead of the other way around. So yeah, I understand the side of the people that are getting frustrated. I don't think it helps to yell at people out of your window, what are you doing outside, and that kind of stuff that's going on sometimes. But I do understand the frustration, because in a sense, this whole lockdown thing, it is a sacrifice that people are making. And so, and we're told it's to, keep the spike down of the virus. So it's not like people are like happy to, I don't get to go to work, I get to stay at home. Some people are happy like that, but a lot of people, it's a real sacrifice, and they're doing it. And then when they're seeing other people not respecting that, they're feeling really frustrated because they feel like they're wasting their time. They could be out as well, but they're sacrificing, and then there are other people that are not. So I do think that it is the Jesus following thing to care about other people and how my life and what my actions are impacting them. And so I think we should be doing the opposite in this situation. We should be going, what can I do to bless people? How can I care for people right now? So,
yeah. David, what do you think?
I was really impacted when I made a couple trips this last year to South Korea and Japan, and just to see how it's not just about the individual, but also the community. And I think that's why South Korea and Japan especially is doing so well during this virus, because they don't just think about the individual, and they think they think about how is this affecting all of us, and that's so inside of their DNA. And I think we could really learn a lot from that. I think we're too individualistic, not thinking about how does this impact my community, how does this affect my neighborhood, and so I agree with Luke. If we're really a Jesus follower, we're not going to just be thinking about my rights. In fact, I think Jesus said that we're supposed to deny ourselves and follow him. And so I think part of following Jesus is not just to be thinking about yourself only, but to think about how does my actions, what is this going to do to my community? What is this going to do to people in my community who maybe are at risk, who are not strong, and to just, you see these pictures of people going to beaches and stuff, like in Florida and also in Australia. There's a lot of people on Bondi Beach there just going crazy, in Sydney, and just flaunting the whole thing. And I think, that's just really not cool. And we should not be like that, especially when there's so much potential for hurting people, especially those who are older. But and that's also an illusion, because it's not just hurting older people. If the economies collapse because of this, it's going to hurt all of us. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. And again, not to necessarily get too informational, part of a little bit of my pet peeve, even on social media, has been just, it turns everyone into a little news agency. And to be honest, I think we have too much information, and too much of it's inaccurate. And so, I was even kind of humorously coming up with a list of do's and don'ts on social media that I was going to talk about. Didn't really get to it, but one of it's like, I don't know, maybe we all don't need to be part of the news sharing process so much. I don't know, maybe that sounds like a weird thought, but it's like, let's limit it to those who have some expertise, whose jobs it is. And maybe for the rest of us, let's just be there for one another, and we can have humor, and we can have community, and we can lead each other towards Jesus. But it's kind of a little bit of part of my challenge with the social media aspect of it is just the news hysteria of it all. and not necessarily wanting to participate in that. But the only reason I bring that up is because, you know, it is a serious thing, and it's not just, you know, we like to, for those of us that maybe don't feel like we're in the vulnerable category, we like to make ourselves feel better by saying that. But the truth of the matter is, the reason things are so bad in places like Italy is that, you know, there are a good percentage of people of all ages that are going to need to be hospitalized and ventilated to survive this. Now, if they get that care, they will have a very likely chance of surviving it, especially if they don't have any pre-existing conditions. But, you know, our governor, the governor of Minnesota, comes on and says, we have 235 of those rooms. I mean, that's like nothing, right? And so part of this is serious. We all need to take this very seriously in terms of increasing our capacity. But the thing that I've been feeling consistently in this process and in our conversations is just this heightened sensitivity in general across the board. One level of it being empathy. And empathy is kind of what we're talking about, recognizing that my actions matter. And the first step in recognizing that my actions matter is actually to care about other people, right? Is to realize that. And so I think there could be some really positive consequences of this, in that we are more aware of the fact that how I live impacts other people. And that could ultimately, you know, even though this is a very tragic situation, that could ultimately be something that, some good that could come out of this, is maybe we are a little bit more sensitive to how we live, to how we act, to how we spend our money, and in general, just how we impact other people.
Yeah, I have to be honest with everyone, because we were put in isolation and now we're in a full lockdown. But before, we were on isolation for 2 weeks, and because we came from Australia to New Zealand, and I was always arguing with Jody all the time, saying, "Come on, we could go to the cafe, you know, we're not going to talk, we're not going to, you know, we don't have nothing wrong with us, and we'll just sit alone at our own table. We can go out for a coffee, because there's." And Jody was like, "No, you can't do it. We're in isolation." And I'd be like, every day, like one time I said to Jody, "Hey, Jody, I just got a text from the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she said that it'll really help the economy if we go to that cafe and get a cappuccino." And that didn't work. And she started yelling at me again and said that we all have to be in isolation. And then she went so far as to put like a pup tent in our lounge, and said I had to go inside of it. and for the rest of the week of our 2 weeks, now we're in lockdown. So I don't know if the tent is going to stay there or what. But so, you know, when you have a wife who's very responsible, even though it's not my tendency, I know like Luke would be that way. He's English and all, and he's always thinking about
Luke's very servile.
Yeah, he's always like, "How
I'd be sitting inside.
What
can
I
do, honey? Would you like a shrub?
Yeah, it's like, master. I mean, you know,
Should I polish
master,
the china?
Yes. Could I have a little piece of crumpet?
Anya,
but
would
could
you
I
like
have
me
some
to,
more, please?
Anya, would you like me to sweep the chimney again?
Could I have a little could I have a little butter on my raisin bread?
No, Luke, the chimney is already swept.
Oh, look,
there's nothing wrong with being sensitive.
The Duke is coming. The Duke is coming.
And he's done.
That was very good, David.
Did you have a point?
Yeah. That was a great job there, David. Good contribution.
Luke, do you have something that...
I have a more serious contribution.
All right, you hit us.
What are you talking about? I was all serious.
Yeah, that was good. I think, Ben, you're bringing up a really good point, and I wanted to tie it into a passage that I really enjoy, because I do think that in this time, there's certain cynicism. This is not related to the virus. This is beyond that. There's a cynicism in our culture where it's almost like frowned upon to care about setting a good example or doing the right thing and caring about how my life impacts or or is seen by other people. There's this kind of, I don't know if it's like a fake humility of saying, you know, I don't have it all figured out. My life's, you know, a mess. And, you know, that whole thing that we talk about in the Christian world of I'm on a journey and I'm figuring things out. And we have this tendency of wanting to show our failings. And I get the importance of being humble and not thinking of myself more than what I am. But we're losing in that what I believe is a biblical thing to set a good example and to want my life to have a good impact on other people. And 1 Timothy 4 talks a lot about that, because Paul challenges Timothy a lot about his public standing to the church and to the people around him. And it's actually where he also says, don't let other people look down on you because you're young. But he's really speaking into Timothy's life and saying, look, God's gifted you. He's given you a calling, and you need to stand by what's right. You need to teach the gospel, the truth. You need to stand by good teaching and let your life be an example to others. And he ends that chapter saying, be diligent in these matters and give yourself wholly to them so that everyone may see your progress. So there was this aspect of saying, let your life reflect good things. And it is important. It is good that people see you doing these good things to set an example and to be a thing to others. And I feel like part of the individualism that you're talking about there is this thing of saying like, you know, I don't have to care about what other people think about me or what I'm doing, and it doesn't matter. And I do think that we've lost something really important there about character, about setting an example, about caring for others. And so, yeah, that's chapter 4 in 1 Timothy. I think that's a really cool one to look at, to think about that, how what I do in my life is important and how it reflects on other people is important.
Yeah. David?
Yeah, but and I completely agree with you. But I just think some people use that as an excuse to just hide in their houses and not care about people around them. And so I think that social responsibility doesn't mean that you don't care and you don't look for ways to do it in a way that's appropriate for the kind of situation you're in. So, you know, we still can go to a supermarket. You know, they're kind of, now it's a lockdown, so they just let certain people in at a time, kind of thing. But you still, even if you're standing 2 meters away from somebody, you still can talk to them, you know. And so I was at the supermarket yesterday, and there's this young girl there working, and I just said, you know, I was getting something and I could easily just got something and left, but I just said, are you okay? And when I say that to people, they always get open right up, because everyone is so I go, are you okay? And then she's like, yeah, it's kind of hard. And I said, well, how can Jody and I pray for you? And we're at this supermarket, you know, and she's like, well, my grandma's, you know, I'm worried about her. And so we prayed for her grandmother, and we were able to talk to her about Jesus, you know. And I'm changing tickets. I told that story I don't know, a podcast ago. Well, I talked to another ticket agent again that on another ticket thing, and I just now just do this. I mean, so yes, I think don't use this as an excuse to not reach out to people, because there are ways you can still do it. And I think more than ever, we need to do this. And I know you're not saying that, Luke. I know that's not your point.
No, I agree with you. But you know what? I've had a real frustrating attempts of trying to be a good volunteer. So I don't know if I've shared this here already, but it's been kind of funny because I've been like, yes, I want to do something. I mean, the examples you're sharing are good because it's easy. Anybody can do that when you're at the store, and, you know, so I want to think more about that. But I've been going, no, I want to do it and help out somehow. So I wrote to my local hospital and I said, hi, I live here in Wrocław, and I'm a healthy young guy, and I want to come and help at the hospital. What can I do? And they wrote back to me and said, we don't want your help. You can't help here because only nurses and doctors can help. So they said no. And then I wrote to this other thing saying, I want to volunteer in this thing. And they said, we don't need any volunteers. And then Anya and I did this thing, sending these letters around our neighbors, right, to offer help. I think I mentioned that on another episode.
No, I don't think you did. Maybe I zoned
out. So Anya and I did this letter, and but the letter just says, in this time of, you know, concern and fear, we want you guys to know that we're here. we live at this house, this number, here's our telephone number, call us anything you need. And then we left a couple of verses and a gospel message talking about hope and about how Jesus was there for them. And then we went with Daniel and Sarah all around our neighborhood, posting these letters into people's doors. And then we were sitting at home waiting, is somebody going to call us and say that they need help? And I think we had one neighbor message and say thank you. And we didn't have anything else. And I was getting really frustrated. Nobody wants help, And then the other day I was walking out my house and one of the elderly ladies from the other side of the road called me. And I thought, great, this is my opportunity. I went over and she's like, I need some help. Can you help me? And I was like, yes, of course. What do you need? And she said, come into my house. Come and help me. So I went over to her front gate, went to her front door. And then I go, what's wrong? What can I do? And she goes, my television isn't working. Can you come and fix my television for me? So I went in and tried fixing her television for her. And I think she was really upset about that because she couldn't watch her television. But I was walking away going, I've got to do something more significant than this. How can I help people?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant.
Luke, come on. Would you want someone like you helping in a hospital? There's no way I would want you in there. I mean, look at them.
All right.
But they didn't see me though.
All right, mute. All right. So I think the thing is, like, sometimes I love this power that I have. I can just mute them and look, they go quiet. It's, kind of like the state we're all in. Everyone just has to just calm down. All right, I'll let you back. All right. So, no, look, jokes aside, I think it's about being sensitive to the Holy Spirit and being bold, right? And I think part of the challenge is that if you're not particularly bold with no restrictions, why are you all of a sudden going to become bold with them? But I would say that there is a unique openness, right? And maybe something that God is trying to show you in this is that people, they are more open than you think. And even though they're more afraid now in a visible way, I think that they're, the whole quote, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. I think that the hopelessness that people carry with them is there a lot, even prior to this, and will be after this. And if anything, maybe use this as a catalyst to be more bold. Now be cautious. Like, we've all experienced the guy or girl that apparently seems to not know the world that we're living in. And they just come right up to you and they're like, hey, how's it going? And you're like, you're doing the Kung Fu stance. It's like, don't be that guy. Be aware. And there's no reason to get closer than you need to, or sort of initiate any sort of physical contact. But there are environments like the phone, like the grocery line, like the mailman. There are certain contexts where society has to continue to function, and that puts you into proximity with people who you can ask, how are you? Can I pray for you? How are you feeling right now? That's kind of what you're saying, right, David? It's not being caught, reckless or unaware, but it's about taking advantage of the opportunities that we have.
Right. I mean, it's not, I'm keeping the 2 meter distance that they say you should keep here. So I'm not being like that, because I don't think that's cool. And people are afraid. So why would I do that? And why would I, you can still talk to people. And man, whenever I've said, how are you doing to people, they just open right up. They really do. And it's like, it's kind of a relief for them to be able to talk about it, because so many people don't even have someone that they can talk to about this. And so it's really an opportunity for the gospel. So I would say to everyone around the world who's watching this, there are ways that you can do that with the people that you can. It's still, you can talk across your balcony. You can, most people can go out at least for a short amount of time and use those opportunities to talk to people. And yes, Gary, we understand that 2 meters is 6 feet. Thank you.
That was good.
So here's what I want to do. I got a few more rules for social media. And part of it is David and I were having this conversation before. And with all of this kind of erosion of routine and stripping away of our normalcy, which, by the way, is a word, Luke. Look it up. Oxford.
Look it up,
normalcy.
Luke. The tendency or the inclination can be to just sort of do nothing, to be less intentional about really every aspect, your relationships, your exercise, your spiritual life, your routine. You can kind of just be like, you don't want to get out of bed. And we talked about routine. I don't want to do that again. But I really feel like you almost have to go in the opposite direction. You have to be more intentional. You have to be more diligent about the basics, because everything in you just kind of wants to go, ugh, like, what am I doing now? And there's no, every day feels like Monday. Someone tweeted the other day, I saw it, and it was like, I don't know, the week had gone by. I was like, wow, today was the longest. I don't even know what I'm saying. Something about the year being long and the days being short. The point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, make your point.
The point I'm trying to make is this: be
You're
intentional.
yeah.
What's that, Luke? You got something?
No,
there?
no. I did that thing that David does sometimes, where I self filtered.
Oh,
I cut it off
self-censored.
before.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that
Self-censored.
all I'm saying is that we need to be even more intentional. That's the key here in everything. And so even for me, I've had to start saying I need to put some boundaries around social media, both for myself, but also I think we could kind of encourage one another about some best practices. Given the fact that all we do now apparently is sit online, we probably need to be even more intentional. So for those watching, for those listening, please leave your comments. What are some rules? What are some just some good pieces of wisdom you have? Because I got some, but we want to hear from you, right, David?
Yeah, we want to hear from you. I don't know why, but we do.
We do. All right, so leave those in the comments. If they're good, I'll throw them up. Oh yes. All right, I'm gonna throw out one, and then David, you can if you got one too.
All right. So, okay, I got one.
I already mentioned this. People, no more numbers. Leave that to the news agencies. Leave that to WHO. Leave that to the, these agencies that, whether you want to trust them or not, or blah, 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 politics aside, I just feel like we don't need everyone relaying all of the numbers and all of the statistics all the time. We all get it. We all have access to the same apps and news agencies. I don't need your minute by minute update about the numbers and how dire everything is. We all get it. Rule number 1, no more numbers. David, you got one?
The second point to build on what Ben was saying is Chloe Ting. Chloe Ting. She is a Japanese, I'm into Japan now, and she is a Japanese fitness instructor. And
this
Jody,
is not a rule for social media. This is a general.
Yes, it is. This is a rule. And she said, you gotta get better abs. She's like, how can I live with you? What? This is
not a rule for social media.
It is. You need to work on your.
It's general tip for living.
It's a general. Look at. Do you think Gary doesn't need to work on his abs? You don't think that's going to help him in social media? He goes on social media. Nobody even looks at it. He posts.
Luke, do you have a rule for social media use? For the love, David, just seriously, how should we be using social media? I got more. If you got nothing, you just let me know.
I don't know if you'll consider it a rule for social media. I never had enjoyed engaging so much in all the feeds and stuff. I mean, I look through it. I don't post a lot of stuff like that. I'll post things every now and again when I think it's really something worthwhile. But what I've been doing these few days is similar to what you guys were talking about before, calling people or talking to people in the line, is I've been using my messaging apps or whatever and going through all my contacts and finding people that I haven't talked to for a while, or finding somebody who's one of my friends who doesn't know Jesus yet, and just writing to them and saying, hey, how's it going for you? What's the situation like where you are? Is there something I can pray for you? And so some great conversations have happened through that. So that I feel like is a better use of my time on social media, is engaging with people more one-on-one like that.
Yes. Yep. So, yeah, that's on the more like the commission as opposed to the omission side. What should you be doing with social media as opposed to what you shouldn't? And of course, all of these have sort of inverse proportionality to them. So yes, no more numbers is one of my rules. Obviously, less is more. I mean, if the studies say that social media makes you go, not have super good impacts on your health, your mental health, now's probably the time to very much control what you are consuming. Less is more, both on the consumption and the contribution, in my opinion.
And that's why you need to exercise, and Chloe Ting fits.
Oh, for the love. My third rule is pause. It's similar to stop, drop, and roll. It's pause, wait.
Which, by the way, I've thought a lot about that afterwards. How can that be helpful in an earthquake? Who was it? Luke or somebody, one of our followers?
Michael Friedman says, no rules, just speak about it. Also, bad publicity is still publicity. Anyway.
I have no idea what that means.
Wait,
right.
stop, drop, and roll. Isn't that Luke or somebody said it was for fires, not for earthquake?
Look, it can be for any emergent situation.
Listen,
Rodent attack,
it's a
flooding.
crossover. It's a crossover. You can use that. In
But
any
how does
kind-
it help in earthquakes?
It can be used for flooding, rodent attack, itching, hair loss, hair growth. If your teeth fall out, you can use it if there's some sort of
Sudden- yeah.
interspecies conflict.
That's right. That's right. Like if a tree suddenly started to fall, you could drop and roll.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, an earthquake. Let's roll around on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. What David was referring to in the previous podcast is how my high school was doing fire drills, and they started saying, like, you need to stop, drop, and roll in case you get consumed, engulfed in fire, if you will. What's the verb for that? There's like a specific verb related to being caught on fire. Someone comment.
It's flaming. I think they call it a flamer.
Incinerated.
And he's gone. No, so me and my friend David Jackson, or as we called him, David Beavertooth Jackson, in the middle of class, we just started stop, dropping, and rolling as a way to show that we took our civic duties seriously. All right, so no more numbers, less is more. My third one, is pause, wait, and post. Now, what I mean by this one is don't post so quickly, especially panic, negative, dire news. First of all, maybe don't post it at all. I'm not saying we got to have our heads in the sand, but if there's something dramatic and there it is, conflagration. Man, Gary, who says that, I got nothing.
I think it's conflagration.
Apparently, you aren't the source of words, old Bill Shakespeare. Anyway, so stop, pause, wait, and post. What I mean by that is don't post it right away. And here's my example, and maybe someone's going to call me out on this, but this is the one that particularly bugged me. Yesterday, there was and this is serious. Yesterday, there was a report that there was the first juvenile death in the U.S. related to the coronavirus, and it was published by the LA Times, and everyone freaked out, right? You feel a little less safe when someone young dies. And then the next day, they retract the story and say, oh, there was a bunch of pre-existing health conditions that we didn't realize that had played into this. And it might not even have been related to the coronavirus. We're not entirely sure. And I saw all these people post about it, and it made everybody panic. Who knows if the LA Times was being even honest, because no one cares about a retraction. And the general principle is just wait, especially if it's negative, especially if it's alarming, especially if it's going to freak everyone out. No one is waiting on your post. You're not, the BBC. Just chill, wait, then post. Any reactions to that, David? You just look like you're being muzzled right now.
No, I totally agree with you. It's all the sensational kind of stuff that's being posted, and then you look into it, and it's just not even true at all. And so I think you're right. I think it creates a lot of, and that's why one of your points being that we should be not on social media so much, which gets back to my point that you need to do things like Chloe Ting to improve.
All right.
He's getting paid. He's
the
getting
next
paid for
one
that.
on my list is, and to be honest, this one we were also talking about earlier, David and I, and it's more just, I think we're all on edge subconsciously more than we realize. If we had some psychologists on, if we could have old Jordan Peterson on, I'm sure he would be able to unpack that for us. But we're all a bit on edge because we're dealing with the fear of this. It's like a serious thing. And I think that makes us less patient. It makes us less kind. And I think social media already lends itself to that. And I found myself in my own heart, if I'm honest, feeling less patient with the people around me, with my kids, with my, my family. And that can also spill out in terms of the way we interact on social media. And so I think in general, we need to be more cautious, less impulsive, and more aware of sort of the underlying stress that we're all dealing with the fear of this, with the people in our lives that we love and are worrying about, the general state of our planet. In general, David, Luke, don't you agree that we need to be there? There can be this sort of underlying stress that we maybe don't even acknowledge consciously that can lead to even more impulsive and impatient responses on social media. Wouldn't you say, Luke?
Yeah, I agree. And it comes out first with those closest to us. And I think that's a really interesting thing for us to be thinking about, because we're having the privilege of hanging out more with our families back home. And Anya and I, with the kids here, we've really been enjoying that. But it's also, I think marriage and family is the first place where God really wants to sharpen our character and work at our hearts and our ego. And so the moment you start getting anxious about something, I'll be sharp with Anya or something like that. She'll be sharp back. We'll be having an argument for no reason at all. And it's, and through that, God is teaching us and we're learning and growing. But I think that treating our families well during this time and looking after each other is really important. Somebody put out something today that made me think that we should be praying also for vulnerable families and people that there's a lot more opportunity for domestic abuse and that kind of thing going on right now, because people, families are locked up in their homes. And, I shared that really sad one from China the other day about all the divorce rates and stuff like that. Making the extra effort to really be loving to the ones that are closest to us first. And then, of course, letting that flow outside of our homes as well to bless other people. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Well, I got two more. The other one is, I think this is a general rule, is keep in mind that your context is not everybody's context. And I think that this one is important because we can come off really tone deaf. And I'm sure I've been guilty of this myself, with the things that we complain about, with the things that we say, with the way that we make light of things. And again, let me reemphasize, I think humor is an important cathartic tool that we have as human beings. I think humor is important. And do the lines get blurred a little bit sometimes? Sure. But I think we have to be able to laugh. Like, we've got to be able to deal with this as human beings. We're not robots. But I think really pausing and reflecting on, there are a lot of people that are suffering, and my context is not necessarily the same as your context. And so before I say something, before I complain, maybe remind yourself of how difficult it is for a lot of people. I mean, I was even reading in Jordan, I mean, you can't even leave your house to go to the grocery store. They are in the most severe lockdown of any country in the planet. And they are having, you will literally get thrown in jail if they catch you outside. You cannot even go to the grocery store. I don't know how they're doing food. And of course there's people who have already lost loved ones. You think of Italy, of course, so just to take that deep breath before you comment or complain or say something, remind yourself that your context is not everyone's context. Right, David?
Yeah. What was it? I just saw this post of Madonna in her bathtub. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. So she's like in her bathtub it's like a milk with like all these floating or
Why?
like all these, what?
Should you be admitting this on a public podcast?
Well, she's in her bath.
Get to the point a little bit quicker. I'm just saying.
Well, she's positioned in a way that you don't, it's
yeah, okay,
whatever. But
Next.
the point I'm making here is she's just like, oh, that we just all need to look after each other. And I'm like, that to me, that's what really is nauseating to me, is all these celebrities that are telling everyone it's okay, accept your situation, when they're so clueless. I know we've talked about this before, but and you're right, Ben. I am aware of that, because I know our own mission. There's so many different kinds of situations that people are in, and yeah, it's a real burden actually that I feel. But it is really nauseating when you see people who are in a really good situation have kind of a dismissive attitude of what it means to be in lockdown. Like you're saying, the people in Jordan who can't even leave their house at all.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we need to really, really be careful and not be so parochial in how we look at our lives in the world.
Yeah, and even I've
been
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Ben, I've been thinking a lot about India, praying for India the last couple of days. There was some kind of news report just about how prepared they are, what they're going to do, and just the vast number of people there, and also the huge numbers of people in poverty, and the kind of environment they live in, just how fast a virus like this could spread there, and how the hospitals are not prepared for the number of people that they have there. And so that's there are places like that that really are a concern that we should be praying for, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, of course, the last one should be kind of obvious, but it's just remember who we represent, right? Let's not lose our heads in a moment like this and forget that ultimately there will be a day that, Lord willing, this will pass, and I want to have represented myself in a way that reflects who Jesus is, and what he would want me to say and how he would want me to react, and that's been the consistent theme here, right? What is Jesus saying to us, and what would he have us do? How would he have us behave? And I think the overarching message here is we need to be intentional, right? We can't just allow this moment to hit us. We've got to say, God, reset, right? Like Dr. Bernard said, and refocus on God, reset, refocus, and then make a plan. And that includes every aspect of life, including social media. I think we have to be intentional, or we'll find ourselves just reacting and being consumed in it all. And so some of these ideas of maybe don't post the numbers, and that can be controversial. That one's more subjective. I think it's unnecessary. Maybe be on there a little bit less. Maybe pause and reflect. Maybe take James's advice to be slow to speak and slow to anger and quick to listen, which is everything that social media is not. Try to be less impulsive and more patient, recognizing the underlying stress that you're probably dealing with and not even realizing. Keep in mind that your context is not everyone's context, that we need to have empathy. Let this raise your sensitivity to those around you. And then finally, just remember who you represent. We need to remember who we represent, that it's ultimately Jesus who will judge our thoughts and the careless words that we speak. And I want to make sure that I represent him in a way that'll make him proud. Yeah,
and I would say that when you need to pray the most is usually when you don't feel like it. And it's often when I really need to pray is when I really don't feel like praying.
Yeah.
And it's really important that you have this proactive prayer life. And I guess the verse that I would leave with everyone is Isaiah 41:10, where it says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And so that's why we need to have this proactive seeking Jesus. And when you don't feel like it, just start. You know what I mean? So often I'll just like, oh man, the last thing I want to do right now is pray. But so I'll just start. And often that's just starting then, and I break through that wall, because it's your prayer life can't be an emotion. I feel it's not something that it's based on. I know the truth, and I know that God is there, and if I speak to him, he listens to me. And like it says in Isaiah, that he wants to strengthen me, but God can't strengthen me if I don't listen to him or spend any time with him and let him strengthen me. And so I think that's really important, especially during a time like this.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Just a little bit of a promotion of what's coming up. Tomorrow is ladies' night during the day. Ladies' night during the day.
Well, here it's night.
During the day in Minneapolis.
But
so
that doesn't. But you don't mean that Luke's going to be on it, do you? When you say ladies' night?
No. Although I am on. So what does that say about me? Anyway, that's tomorrow, 2 p.m.
And it's not just for ladies.
No,
it's
please.
it's the most popular episode.
It is.
Everybody should tune in.
It is.
No, I don't think anyone but ladies should listen to it. Only ladies.
That severely limits our demographic.
I disagree.
So check that out. Like I said, every day, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Central Time, unless advertised otherwise. Again, you can listen back to all of these episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. Just type in Provoke and Inspire. Rate the podcast, review the podcast, let somebody know. Say, hey, what are you doing at 2 p.m. Central Time? Watch the Provoke and Inspire live stream, lockdown live stream. Tomorrow will be number 9. And remember the Hope Beyond Fear hashtag. You're looking for something small but powerful to do. Write something inspirational on the sign that will lead people to Jesus, that will give them hope and courage. Use the hashtag Hope Beyond Fear. Join us in this movement to point people to Jesus in a time like this. That's it, boys. That's all I got. I got to get home before they bolt my doors. So, peace.
Peace.